What's up, everybody? Surprise, didn't really tweet this out. Treadmill Talk on today. What is it, April 21st? Welcome to Treadmill Talks. If you're new to this, make sure checking us out. This is me, walking on the treadmill, talking football. So we are gearing up here for the NFL draft. Its next starts on Thursday, so just a couple days away. I'll be leaving on Tuesday night to head out to Detroit. I'll be in Detroit for the draft. I'm media credentials. I'll be asking the prospects some questions, bringing you guys some fun content, but talking draft while I'm there, hanging out with everyone. You know, it's a fun time seeing all the fans. Just being in the city with the buzz of the draft, seeing these players go to their first teams, living out their dreams. It's kind of fun. So awesome stuff. If you guys have questions about the draft or questions about fantasy football, drop it in the chat on our YouTube. Love to answer your questions. So what am I thinking about the draft coming up? I'm excited for it. The big question is what's going to happen at 2 and 3. We know Caleb Williams is probably going to go 1 overall to the Bears. I still think Jaden Daniels is 2 to the Commanders. 3 is where it gets interesting. Do the Patriots trade out? Do they stay? I'm torn. I've been saying that I thought the Patriots were going to stay, take Drake May. I think that's a plan. Could they start the season with Jacoby Brissett? Yes, he's not a horrible quarterback, but not a great quarterback. I'm on the train now more that they might trade out. Looking at it, Gerard Mayo and that GM there are both new. They have the most job security to be able to trade out and go with a Michael Penix, a Bo Nix down the road, or a Spencer Rattler. They have the most freedom to do that because of their job security, because they're new. They probably got a deal where basically they knew this is a possibility coming in, so maybe they can afford to do that. Now, can Washington do that? Sure, at 2. New coach. I don't think the ownership wants that with the new ownership. I think they want the prospect now, sell some tickets. So I'm leaning a little heavier that the Patriots trade out right now. Who do they trade with? Obviously, I think Minnesota is the obvious trade-up candidate. Question is going to be cost. Minnesota has 11 and 23. They probably have to give up both of those, and maybe a sec. They don't have a second next year, so they have to give up a third. Not sure that's enough to get to 3. Probably is. I've been mocking that a lot. So 11, 23, and a third next year gets them to 3. I think either way, whether it's the Patriots or the Broncos, I think it's Drake May. Not sure J.J. McCarthy has wowed enough people to get there. I think J.J. McCarthy is a great, I don't want to say consolation prize, but a consolation quarterback for the people who miss out on Drake May. Could be J.J. McCarthy, but I think it's Drake May. So Caleb at 1, Jaden Daniels to Washington 2. Whether it's New England or Minnesota at 3, I think it's Drake May. Then we get to the Falcons or the Cardinals at 4. Do they trade out? If Minnesota trades up, obviously the Cardinals don't. No one really to trade with. I don't think the Giants need a quarterback. I don't think they draft one in the first round. Versus Raiders, I don't think that happens. Denver would be the other one. Denver doesn't have the ammo. And Minnesota has to move up. They'd have to give a lot of future assets. Not sure they do that to get up. So we're going Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. At 4, I think Arizona stays put. I think it's going to be Marvin Harrison. He's the presumptive one. I think you can make a case for Malik Neighbors. But I think you go Marvin Harrison. Then at 5, you have the Chargers. No need for them to trade out if Minnesota's traded out. Now, question is, if New England stays at 3, takes Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, I think it would be Drake May. Does Minnesota, can they make a deal with 4 or 5 or 6? So Cardinals, Chargers, Giants. I think they can. I think there's a world in which the Cardinals are the most likely at 4. Now, we saw the Cardinals last year trade with the Houston Texans, move out, so Texans move up, take C.J. Stroud. They took Will Anderson, C.J. Stroud back-to-back. Cardinals move back and then traded back up. So I could see a world where Minnesota trades with the Cardinals again, 11, 23, and a third, get to 4, take J.J. McCarthy then, or Drake May, whichever one's left. Obviously, we have Chargers at 5. I think they take a receiver. By saying there might be off the line, but I think they would take Marvin Harrison. Then at 6, you have the Giants. What do the Giants do? Do they take Malik Neighbors, or do they go somewhere else? I've been liking Giants to take Brock Bowers. Do I think they have to take him at 6? Probably. So if he goes at 6, I don't know if the Giants can trade back enough, and they'd have to be ahead of the Jets, whoever's linking Brock Bowers to still get him. possible they get there. I'm just not sure it's really worth it. So, give me a fun draft. So, the way I have it right now is Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.D. McCarthy. I do have the Cardinals trading out. Marvin Harrison go to the Chargers. Giants, I actually have them taking Brock Bowers over Malik Neighbors. They take Brock Bowers at 6. Then you're at 7. What do we do there? Now it's the Titans. I think they're going to take Joe Alt. I think that's a given. So Joe Alt's gone 7. 8, you then have, I believe it's the Falcons. I think they're a candidate to trade out. I think they want Dallas Turner. But they can move back. So that's where I think Arizona could move back up, get Malik Neighbors, trade 27, and that second they got from Minnesota next year to move up, maybe trade something else. I think it's possible. So I think we're going to see a lot of offensive weapons go early in this draft. There's I think a prop that I saw was no defensive players in the top 10. I think Dallas Turner is going to be there. We'll see if Falcons don't trade out. It's a possibility we could see all offensive players in the top 10 of this year's draft, which I think is interesting. So it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. See what happens. I think we're going to see 5 trades this year. We've seen 9, 8, and 6, I think, the past 3 years. I think we're only going to see 5 this year. I think we see Denver move up. I think we see Packers maybe trade back. And I think we see a couple of teams maybe move 1 or 2 spots, just kind of flip-flop things, pick up some late-round picks. Don't think we're going to see a ton of trading. Here's my thought process on that. If you need a receiver, if you can't get Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Rome Odunze, what's the difference between Brian Thomas Jr., who might go in the teens, to a Keon Coleman, who could go early second rounds, somewhere anywhere in between, depending on how you like them. You have Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, whole group of guys that are all in that group. And there's some other guys that could be mixed in there. Leggett's kind of in there. We'll see. So there's this whole group of guys that I think could go anywhere from middle of the first round to middle of the second round. So is there a need to really trade up to get one of those guys when they could fall to you later? Conversely, if you're a team looking for a receiver, do you stay where you're at in the middle rounds, in the middle of the first, or let's say 20, 21, 22, and go, yeah, we're going to stay here to take this receiver, or move back, acquire a draft asset, and take a guy in the same tier as you. Depends on how they evaluate the wide receivers. So it's going to be an interesting one. We're here doing Treadmill Talks on Sunday. Do this for about 45 minutes. We're about 7-8 minutes in, talking football, getting ready for the NFL draft. If you got questions, drop it in the comments there. I'd love to answer your questions, whether that's prospect or draft questions, whether that's trade questions for your league, for your fantasy league, any other football questions, drop it in the chat. Love to answer. Talk to you guys. Nothing fancy, just me walking on a treadmill, talking about football. I did throw it out there on my Twitter maybe an hour ago. What if Arizona trades with Minnesota, gets 11, 20, 23, and then trades 27 for Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins? Is that worth passing on Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors? I think it will be. I still think you can get Rome Odunze at 11, possibly. So you could walk out of the draft if you're the Cardinals with Rome Odunze at 11, T. Higgins for basically 27 shown, and then you get 23. So you basically move from 27 up to 23, pick up maybe a second next year, walk out of the first round, Rome Odunze, T. Higgins, or Brandon Ayuk. That's pretty good for Kyler and the Cardinals there. Now the question is, would the 49ers trade in the division? I think that's more of a fantasy spin on things than it is a reality thing. We saw the Lions trade T.J. Hockenson to Minnesota. No one was like, oh, they won't trade Minnesota because they're in the division. Like, they do it. Now, granted, there is some rivalry amongst the players and the owners and maybe the coaches and GMs, but then the GM's going to do what's best for them regardless of who they're trading to. So I'm not sure this we won't trade within the division really makes sense. Now, granted, you obviously don't want to make your division rivals that much better, but if they're offering you a deal that you want, you're going to take it because that's the deal you want. I don't think you don't take a deal that you like just because they're in the division. So, do we see wide receivers get traded? Now, with that hypothetical scenario of Arizona making multiple moves, do I think Brandon Ayuk is worth a first round pick? I personally say no. I don't think Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins should get a first round pick for their teams. Now, I can see a team doing it, especially a team at the latter half of the first, right? Because You're talking pick 27, pick 28, maybe the Bills, pick 30 if you're looking at the Ravens. Are those guys you can get there, the A.D. Mitchells, the Keon Coleman's, Ryan Thomas maybe, are they better than Higgins and Ayuk? Even with the contract, I'd say no. I think you take it. The problem is the contract. We just saw Stephon Diggs get traded by the Bills. He kind of wanted the contract getting up there now. Higgins and Ayuk are younger, but that contract was looming. Not so much for Diggs, but he got a second-round pick, so it might be worth a first now as a second pick next year, which currently holds considerably less value than a second-round pick this year. So I think it's right in the edge. If they are going to get a first-round pick for Higgins or Ayuk, I think it's going to be in the 20-plus range. I don't think it's going to be a team pick, like 17, like the Titans got for A.J. Brown when they traded him to the Eagles. I think we're looking at maybe that 20. I don't know, maybe top 20 would be hard. Maybe we're looking at 25 and down. I think that's where you make. Because at that point, it's basically a second-round pick. You could argue, because for me, the back half of the first round, very similar players to the top half of the first round. For me, that first round really is, there's your top 10 guys. There's guys that are that 11 to 20-ish range, and then there's kind of a tier that's 21 through 36, 40, something around that range for me. When I'm tiering up all these prospects across the board, when I'm doing my mock drafts, I get to pick 25, and I go, this guy or maybe this guy that's possibly a second rounder, they're kind of all the same. So I'm not sure Ayuk or Higgins. Nets a first round. I think it's possible, but again, I don't think it's anything going to be higher than 20. I think even higher than 25 in the picks. So you're looking at Steelers are probably out of the range. Cardinals are in there with 27. We'll see. Minnesota has 23. Not that they need a receiver, but Bills are in that mix. Chiefs are in that mix. Ravens are in that mix. 49ers would be in the mix if they traded Ayuk. They would want to get someone, so maybe they make a double trade Ayuk, trade for Higgins. Who knows? Not sure we see a ton of trades. I think we're going to see 5. We haven't seen a ton of big-name first-round trades in a long time, really since A.J. Brown. Even then, that was this is interesting. He wasn't the A.J. Brown we saw. He had a good year, followed up by an injury year, so he wasn't like the superstar he is now. I think if T. Higgins or Ayuk got traded, I think it'd be one of the bigger draft day trades in NFL history. So excited for the draft this year. Let me know what you guys think about the draft. Who are you interested in your team taking? How many wide receivers do you guys have in the first round? If you guys aren't in Reddit, the Fantasy Football subreddit, paired up with Fantasy Cares, Scott Fishbowl, and Coupe Fiasco from Fantasy Alarm, they're doing a contest. Donate $10. You can get in. There's 20 questions. What I do is answer those 20 questions for a bunch of prizes. They've got Scott Fishbowl spots. They've got signed jerseys. They've got memberships to Fantasy Alarm and Football Guys. They got spices from Bo McBriar. Whole bunch of prizes for only $10 to get in. Test your draft knowledge. Obviously, all that money goes to Fantasy Cares, which is a great cause. Buy toys for children, get Christmas toys for tots. Worthy cause, kind of a fun thing. Love that they're doing it. Love the collaboration between them. I think they just added an Evan Ingram signed jersey as one of the prizes because they hit $2,000 they've raised. If they get to 5,000, they're going to add another jersey. So hop in there. You can go to Coupe Fiasco on Twitter. You can find the link there. On Reddit, the Fantasy Football subreddit, or Fantasy Football on Reddit on Twitter, or Fantasy Cares, you'll find all the information. Or hit me up on Twitter and I can shoot you the link. But if you're into that, hey, if you guys haven't signed up for Scott Fishbowl, hey, first of all, if you got into Scott Fishbowl, congratulations. If you don't know, Scott Fishbowl is a charity tournament that happens every year. Scott Fish puts it on. It's 14th year. Basically, raises money for Fantasy Cares, which I said does toys for tots. It's a big tournament. I think last year there was just over 3,000 people. What you do is you get in, you get in the league, play fantasy football draft. It's a big thing for the community. Meet a bunch of people, raise money for a good charity, have fun. You basically play for 13 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever it is. And then there's the playoffs, and highest scores go through. Half of them join, and then they drop people every week. You get a cool ring if you win, but really it's just about the community. So if you haven't signed up on scottfishbowl.com, check that out if you are interested in Scott Fishbowl. If you love charity tournaments, I also recommend the Warrior Bowl, which is personally one of my favorites. So Warrior Bowl, you can find it on Twitter. Warrior Bowl, another charity tournament. Half the money goes to charity, half the money goes to prizes. It's a season-long tournament. I think it goes to week 15. You set a lineup every week. Quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, wide receiver, tight ends. Once you do that, once you use a player, you can't use them again the rest of the season, which I think is really interesting because there's going to be those playing the matchups. Theoretically, you got to start 15 or 16 quarterbacks all year. When do you start the 16th best quarterback? Do you hold on to Patrick Mahomes so maybe he has a really good week, but what if he gets injured? Then you're out. It's a lot of strategy. I really love Warrior Bowl, so check that out. Don't have the website off the top of my head, but you can search Warrior Bowl. Again, hit me up on Twitter, the DUnit13. Gladly send you guys a link over there. Sign up for those. It's a great time of year for charity tournaments. If you're into those things, I think everybody should be into those things for everybody to raise some money for some good causes. Connect with more people in the community. That's one of my favorite things about all these things. If you're available to go to a Scott Fishbowl live draft, even if you're not drafting, it's fun to go to. I went to Chicago live last year. Wasn't drafting. Drove the 2 hours down. And honestly, it was one of the best things I've done in my fantasy career. I got to hang out, help Steven Johnson kind of set up, run the thing. They had 4 leagues going. Got to meet some really cool people. Jim Coventry was there. It was super nice. Great to connect with him. Andy Behrens, Wendy Early, Hoove, Steven, John McGlynn, Nick Script. A whole bunch of people were there. So if you're available, they've got 30 cities across the world where they're doing live drafts this year. So I know there's Chicago, Minneapolis, LA, I think San Fran, Dallas, Baltimore. Maybe not Baltimore, but definitely Boston, Philly, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. There's one in Michigan. There's one in Fort Lauderdale. There's a couple overseas in Europe. And there's one down south in South America. So if you're available, check it out. Find a live draft. Go. Meet some people in the community. I actually enjoyed it a lot not drafting. It allowed me to kind of float around and talk to people. I wasn't sitting there watching my draft board. I could kind of just enjoy it. So probably go again even if I'm not in there. I might do the live draft because I think that's a fun experience. But I love being able to just kind of walk around and hang out. I don't really care how I do in Scott Fishbowl. I enjoy the charity aspect of it, but I enjoy the community aspect of it as well. So check out Scott Fishbowl. Check out Warrior Bowl. If there's another charity tournament you guys are running, shoot me a DM. Love to hear about it. Love to maybe get into it. Do some kind of cool work with people in those spaces. So I think charity tournaments are great. I know there's a bunch of others out there. Polly's Pocket, Poly Playoffs. I don't know them all, but if there is a charity tournament, you run a charity tournament, or you're in a charity tournament you think I should know about, shoot it to me in a DM, tag me in a tweet at the DUnit13. We'd love to hear about your charity tournament for fantasy football. I mean, that's a huge part of the industry. People don't talk enough about how much good work fantasy football does in the world. So loved seeing all the invites. Scott Fishbowl invites started going out on Friday. He's continued all weekend. It's been fun just to see all the people excited, especially the first-time people. Get their invite, get that email. If you haven't gotten an email, make sure you're signed up, because I know a lot of people who have been around for a while forgot to sign up. So scottfishbowl.com, and search SFB14. Find the sign up. Make sure you're signed up. There's still plenty of invites to go out. We'll be doing it for the next few months. Plenty of ways to win invites. So follow Fantasy Cares on Twitter. Subscribe to their YouTubes. They go live on YouTube most days. And they sometimes just give away spots to people in the chat. Sometimes there's 20 people in the chat. They do contests of, last year was like cluck like a chicken and send in a video. And 7 people send in the video, and they said, you know what, we're just going to give all 7 people an entry. So this year it's movie themed, so a lot of times they were doing gifts and they ran races. There's plenty of ways to get in. If you don't try, you won't get in. If you're really committed, you can find a way. Like if you really give an effort, you will get in. I feel like. So what else you guys got thinking about the draft? If you're from the Detroit area, let me know where I should go eat. Like I said, I'll be there Wednesday. I got a bunch of events Wednesday. There's a Wednesday morning prospect media availability, so I can talk to prospects. Got a couple of men after that. Got some time. Got an event Wednesday night. But Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, where should I go for lunch? Where should I go for lunch Friday, Saturday night? Let me know. Hit me up, all you Detroit people. Where I should eat. Where's the best place to grab? Maybe pizza, wings. Your favorite place? Something too crazy in the Detroit area. Would love to go grab some good food. Love to get locals' opinions. I know you can look on Yelp in those places. A lot of times it's like not really like locals. I want the locals' opinions. So every time I go somewhere, I usually ask the hotel like where I should go. So draft's going to be fun this year. Looking forward to it. I think, so like I said, I think we're going to see a good run of quarterbacks. We're going to see some wide receivers. I think we're going to see 5 or 6 wide receivers in the first round. 1 tight end, Tim Brock Bowers. A lot of offensive linemen. Probably won't see any running backs. I doubt they go in the second. They probably start going in the second round. I think we see 3 in the second round, a bunch in the third and fourth round. See a bunch of offensive linemen in the first round. Linebackers, I don't think we see go until the second round. Edge rushers, defensive line, they'll go in the first round. Some big names there. Cornerbacks, I think there's 5 or 6 that could go in the first round. That's a good question. What do you think there's more of? More wide receivers, more defensive backs in the first round? What do you think there's going to be more drafted in the first round, wide receivers or defensive backs? I'll say defensive backs. Wide receivers, I think for sure we're going to see Marvin Harrison, Lake Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, and then some combination of A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Keon Coleman. I don't think we saw them. I think we see 2 of those. So 6, but cornerbacks, Quinyon Mitchell, Taron Anderson, Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry. It might only be 5. It's going to be real close. So we should maybe see 5 and 5. Maybe we see 6 wide receivers, 5 defensive backs. We'll see. But that's a good question. Drop that in the chat. What do you think there's going to be more, wide receivers, cornerbacks? Obviously, us fantasy players would love to see more wide receivers than cornerbacks. But if you might play IDP and you want to see those quarterbacks, we've seen some really good ones come out the past few years. Tariq Woolen, Brian Branch, Sauce Gardner. So we've seen some really, really top-end cornerbacks come out the past few years, which is kind of fun, in my opinion, for football. From a purely football standpoint, it's great to see massive stars on the defensive side, especially at cornerback, because we have these wide receivers, these Garrett Wilsons, Jeffersons, Chases, who are just dominant. So it's fun to see them paired up with a guy who's equally as dominant on the other side of the ball. Makes them for some fun games. I personally don't mind a more defensive game. I want some scoring. I like each score to be over 14, at least 2 touchdowns a team, but we can see a 27-23 game. I'm happy with that. 24-27, something like that. Makes for a fun game, but I love seeing those matchups of, Sauce Gardner on Stephon Diggs, Tariq Woolen on Ayuk, right? Those are the matchups we've seen. Sauce Gardner on Tyreek or Jalen Waddle. Those are matchups we've seen a lot of the past few years, and I think it's fun. It's always fun to see those. I grew up watching Darrell Revis and a little bit of Rod Woodson and Champ Bailey and Dion. Those type of guys. Really made for fun thing, especially when they get those interceptions, those pick sixes. It's fun. So appreciate you guys tuning in. We're in the middle of Treadmill Talks here on Sunday. It's just me walking on treadmill, talking football with you guys. So if you got questions, drop it on our YouTube chat. I'm not sure if I see Facebook questions. So the best thing is to go to YouTube, dynastybrosfootball.com, find me in the live section, drop a comment in there, whether it's a question about draft prospects, trades in your dynasty league, any sort of football questions you have, drop it in there for me. Love talking with you guys. This is what it's all about. It's all about just me talking with you guys. So the more feedback I get from you, the more I can talk to you guys directly about what you guys want to talk about. If not, I'm just going to keep rambling, talking about the draft, because that's what's coming up in just a few days. It's Sunday. Got to get to Thursday. I'm going to be lying with you guys. Tomorrow work's going to be rough. I don't know how I'm going to get work done. Like, I'm stoked already to go. So just to be there, like the atmosphere when you get there, you see all the signs and the banners. You see the players, you see other media members, you see the buzz of the crowd. You see, especially Thursday, you'll see people in their crazy outfits. All the super fans come out. Just kind of get you jacked up for football. For me, the worst time of year is next week and on. Like post-draft, period is where it's like. So we get our draft, we get our rookie drafts for Dynasty. Then we kind of get like middle of May, end of May, June, July. It's like snooze fest, right? Like we want football. We get so jacked up between we had Super Bowl, then we had Senior Bowl, we had the Combine. Now we get the draft. We had free agency. Now we get the draft, and then it's like you get rookie mini camps. We have voluntary workouts. Then you get rookie mini camps, and you get training camps. We finally get preseason come September. So Lola is nice for me as a family man. Take my wife and kid. We can do some more stuff. Not feeling the need to stay on Twitter all day or keep up with the news, but I'm excited. This is my best week. I've always said the NFL draft is the single-handedly the greatest sporting event of all sports, because all 32 teams and their fan bases are not just involved, they are heavily involved and invested because this is an opportunity for their team, basically make or break it. If you get the right guy, whether that's quarterback, offensive lineman, running back, if you get the top guy, if you get the guy that's solid, it sets you up for 5-6 years at minimum. Quarterback's longer. If you get the wrong guy, though, it tanks your team for like 4 years. Unless you're willing to come off them real quick, like the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen. If you take the wrong quarterback, you're going to give him 2, maybe 3 years. In year 4, you finally move on. All the Bears with Justin Fields. Like, you just wasted 3 years. If you take the wrong receiver, Nelson Aguilar, you're kind of sunk. If you take the right receiver, Justin Jefferson, you're set up for a while, like the Vikings are, no matter who your quarterback is. You take Bijan Robinson, you take Jahmyr Gibbs earlier than people thought, like the Lions did. All of a sudden, you're set up and you're a powerhouse in your division and your conference. You're a Super Bowl contender every year for the next 5 years. Definitely can set you up. So, especially first, second round. For me, the first, second, third round, those guys should be impact players for you week 1. First round for sure. Second and third definitely should be playing 70% of your snaps, if not more, depending on the position. Fourth round, I think you can get some rotational guys. Same thing with fifth round, sixth, seventh round. They're really like wait and see guys. Probably in your practice squad, maybe special teamers who maybe get some time. Maybe they come in wow you. You look at teams like the Rams, they've done really well hitting on fourth, fifth, sixth rounders. That's kind of allowed them to them picks and go get a Stafford and not draft in first round. I think it's the first round pick the Rams have had in McVay's history. That says a lot. And the fact that they've won a Super Bowl and have been contenders most years says a lot about the Rams being able to pick late round guys really good. Hit on a high rate of those. So thanks for tuning in. We still got about 10, 15 minutes left on this Treadmill Talk this Sunday. Like I said, drop a chat. Give us a follow. I do this because I want to walk the treadmill and want to talk football. But a like, a comment, a share, but especially a subscribe on Dynasty Bros Football YouTube really helps me out and knows you guys are watching. I can see we got some people watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy this content. Nothing crazy, just me talking football. So drop a comment. Love that encouragement. That comment actually says, hey, we want to engage with you. If you have a fantasy football trade, let me know what it is. If you want to know about a fantasy football player, whether I would buy, sell, or hold, drop it in there. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I want to talk about as long as it's football related. So we get those, I'll talk about them. If not, we'll just keep talking draft. Let's talk running backs in the draft. 2 weeks ago, or maybe last week, I did my landing spots. So I am a tier players for ranked landing spots. But let's start talking about players a little more. Jonathan Benson, or Brooks, Benson, Corum, Allen are my top guys. Jalen Wright's there. We'll see where they go. Still too early. I think we're going to see 3 of them go in the second round. Then the Cowboys take one. I think the Chargers maybe take one if they trade back and only take one where they're at. I think we see another team, maybe the Giants, sneak in there, take a running back. We'll see. I think we only see up to 3. I don't think we see more than 3 running backs in round 2. I think round 3, we see another 3 or 4, and then 4 and 5, we see a bunch go. So, interesting. Like I said, tight end's the interesting one. Because after Brock Bowers, there's like 7 guys that could be the tight end too. Depends on where they go. Went through those spots 2 weeks ago. It's going to be interesting. So, excited for the draft. Excited to see what teams do. If you guys know, I'm a Bills fan. So, yes, I do think the Bills should draft a receiver in the first round. I do not think they should trade up. I think they have too many holes to fill to give up more draft capital to move up a receiver. I think they can get a decent one at their draft spot. Keon Coleman is there. Adonai Mitchell. Maybe Brian Thomas if he's available. I wouldn't mind trading up 3 or 4 spots and giving up a third or fourth round. I think we have 2 fourth rounders. That's fine, but I'm not giving up a second rounder this year. We don't have a third rounder, and I don't want to give up a first, second, or third rounder next year because I want those guys to be impact players next year. So we can trade up and give away a 4th, 5th rounder. I'm okay with that. Okay, moving up a couple spots to get a guy. Again, I don't think they need to because I think they get a guy there. Like we talked about earlier, there's that group of wide receivers that could go anywhere from 20 to 40. So why would you trade up when there's still going to be a comparable guy there? Interesting team I think you got to look at are the Carolina Panthers. They have picked 33, the first pick in the second round. Wouldn't be surprised They moved up to get a receiver. I do think they might see a gap from an Adonai Mitchell to the next group. If you think Brian Thomas and Adonai Mitchell are in tier of their own, you might want to trade to get one. So I think the Packers are an interesting choice to trade back. Maybe even the Colts. So can Carolina work a deal to move up to get a receiver to pair with Mingo and Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen? We'll see. I don't think it's a huge need, but interesting they could trade up, especially with teams that are looking to trade back. I think when we talk about the draft, I think everyone wants teams to trade back. I don't think we look enough at it. I don't think people talk about enough teams that want to trade up. You have to think about why are they trading up? What's the advantage? What are they trying to prevent? Who are they trying to jump ahead of? And what are they giving up? Yeah, it's great to say, oh, this team should trade back. Cool. Denver should trade back. Who's trading up for Denver's spot? For what? And for what need? Where's that position? They feel like, hey, I got to get that guy. Whether it's the end of a positional tier, whether it's the start of a positional tier, whether it's just a single one-off. If you need an offensive lineman and you can't get Joe Alt, do you need to trade up to get Joe Alt? No, because you can get one of those other guys a couple picks later. You can get I forget their names, but there's a couple guys there. Fontenot, guy from Penn State. It's been a while since I did my draft. There's a couple guys there. You don't need to trade up. Do you need to trade up for a quarterback? Does Minnesota need to trade up for a quarterback at all? Can they get J.J. McCarthy at 11? If you look at it, are the Giants taking one? I personally don't think so. Not that early. Is Oakland taking one or Las Vegas? I don't think so. Not that early. Minnesota and Denver, the two wild cards. Do they go out and figure, hey, we can't make the trade, so we're going to just stay where we are and not give up draft capital? I really like Michael Penix. Do I think Michael Penix is a first-round pick? I think Michael Penix is the best QB in this draft in terms of leading my team. Do I think he warrants a first-round pick? No, because the rest of the league doesn't see it that way. So if I'm a front office general manager and I'm saying, hey, I think this guy could be the best guy, I'm not just going to overpay for him just because I think he's the best guy. I'm going to go, what's the market value for him, and take him a little bit above market value. Now, Denver at 12, do they take Michael Penix? If it goes Caleb, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, seems like a reach to me. I think you can move back, trade back up in the first from your second round. I don't think you have to pay that price. I think he, at the end of the day, in 5 years from now, will say he was worthy of that price. Yes. I personally believe in 5 to 10 years, we'll be looking back at this draft and go, and Michael Penix should have been the number one guy in that draft. He should have been 101. That's what I think we're going to say. I think he's going to go to a situation, Denver, in the second round, or New Orleans in the second or third round, get a chance, and we'll be really good. If Michael Penix gets a chance, he's going to be really good. Promise, just because in hindsight, he might be worth it, doesn't mean he's worth it right now because no one else is clamoring for him. But all it takes is one other team to clamor for him, and that drives the price up. Realistically, 2 teams need to be in on a player for their price to go up. And then it goes up. Every team that goes up, it goes up a little bit more. So if you're Denver, if you're Minnesota at 11 and Denver at 12, does that force one of you guys to trade up to get a guy just because you're afraid someone else trades up to get a guy? If you both like J.J. McCarthy, you have to trade up to 4 to get him. Because if you don't trade to 4, does the other trade to 6, trade to 9? So you trade up a little more. That's where this price comes in. So it's going to be interesting. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Got another 5 minutes left. My treadmill talk today. It's me talking treadmill. Talking football, walking to the treadmill. Hit a like and subscribe on our YouTube. Drop a thumbs up. Hit a bell notification. I go live every Sunday. Now, next Sunday I won't be going live. I'll actually be driving back from Detroit, so I won't be on the treadmill. It's about a 6-hour drive for me from Michigan to Wisconsin, so I won't be live next week. Week after I'll be live. I try to do these earlier. Had my son's piano recital today, so a little bit later. Try to do them around 1 p.m. Central Time, so 2 p.m. Eastern. I think it's like 4 p.m. Eastern Time right now, so kind of late today. Didn't really get the tweets out ahead of time, but still wanted to hop on and do it. Like I said, this is just me walking on the treadmill, talking football, trying to burn some calories, talking about football with you guys. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I would love to know what else you guys think about the draft or trades. I'm excited for rookie drafts this year. Because I think if you're in the top 7, I think you're going to get a really good player. I think our top 7s in Superflex drafts are going to be Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, in some combination. Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze are going to be your top 7. And then after that, you're looking at the running back for the Chargers, maybe. Running back for Dallas, maybe another running back. Maybe the receiver for the Bills, receiver for the Chiefs, receiver for the Steelers. I think that's really going to be, there's going to be a lot of that. Tight ends for the Chargers, I think, if that's a late guy, could be end of the first round, early second. Then you're going to get to the second round. You're going to have all those receivers in the second round. The Adonai Mitchells, the Keon Colemans, who go later, are in that second round range of draft capital, are going to get taken in your second rookie draft. You're going to have Michael Penix, Bo Nix in there. End of the second round, you're going to see people drafting more tight ends, the Spencer Rattler quarterbacks, the Joe Miltons, Jordan Travis, who I said was the sleeper of this pick. I think Jordan Travis could go to a team like New Orleans for the second or third round, have a chance to start next year after Derek Carr, and they finally get rid of his contract. So rookie draft's going to be fun. Draft's going to play a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of talk post-draft come Monday of where are these rookie drafts ADPs? How much do they fluctuate? It's funny to me that people do the rookie drafts before the NFL draft. I understand it from a player evaluation standpoint of you need to make your call on this player that he's good regardless. Problem is, I don't think there's a lot of players that are good regardless of situation. I just don't. Patrick Mahomes is good regardless of situation, right? Josh Allen isn't. Josh Allen is good, but is propped up by his situation. If Josh Allen was playing on a less superior team, which he's probably going to be on this year, is he as good? I don't know. He has the rushing upside to fantasy, but he throws a ton of interceptions. Doesn't make the best decisions. Probably due for an injury. So he is not good regardless of the situation. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, they are good regardless of situation. Is T. Higgins is good regardless of a situation? He's okay. Right? Brandon Ayuk is good on the 49ers because of where he is. It's the Brock Purdy argument that we have. Brock Purdy's not a good quarterback. He's only good because of the system he's in. What do you freaking do at this point? He's still going to be in that system for the foreseeable future. So if he's good in that system, he's going to be in that system for the foreseeable future, then he's good. Period. He may not be the best quarterback, but he is good in that system. Yes, I agree. If Brock Purdy was playing on the Jets, he wouldn't be as good as he is on the 49ers. Nature of the beast. So I don't understand from a rookie perspective, drafting before the draft, you go, hey, this guy's good. I'm banking on his talent winning out. I'd rather bank on situations winning out, to be honest with you. I've had this debate with people on Twitter. I'm a situation matters most for most people because really the difference in talent between Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze, minuscule. Very minuscule. So situation is going to matter. Same thing with the quarterbacks. For me, that's why I tier them. The difference between Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy is the middle. Now, if you're talking Caleb and McCarthy, a little bit bigger, but still not enough to really change that perspective on things. So I've always said, quarterback goes to Minnesota is my 101. That's a better situation for me than the Bears. The Bears is too, especially for this year. The Dynasty, I think they drop a little bit. But I'd rather have a quarterback throwing to Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hockenson, Jordan Addison than DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet. Then if you're throwing, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, I think there's a clear Aaron Jones better than DeAndre Swift. If you had a universe in which you had a multiverse where you had Caleb Williams on the Bears, Jaden Daniels on the Bears, Drake May on the Bears, and all three of those guys also on the Commanders, and all three of those guys also on the Patriots, and all three of those guys also on the Vikings. What's your ranking then? For me, it's Vikings, Bears, Patriots, Commanders. That's just how I rank them. If you have a world just where you have Jaden Daniels on the Patriots, Jaden Daniels on the Vikings versus J.D. McCarthy on the Patriots, J.D. McCarthy on the Vikings. I'm still taking the Vikings guys first because it's a better situation. So we can talk about Coupe Fiasco put up his article and he linked Dave Kluge that the first quarterback off the board has a higher hit rate than the second quarterback off the board who has a better hit rate than the third quarterback off the board. I understand the point. I understand the numbers behind it. I just wonder if it's a selection bias issue of I'd rather look at opportunities. I think if you sat down and looked at quarterbacks who were taken who were actually given the opportunity, what's their success rate? Because I think there's plenty of bust. Obviously, we know there's bust at the 101. We know the first quarterback off the board is a bust. Here's the problem. There's a difference between first quarterback off the board being Kenny Pickett in the teens and the second quarterback coming in the second round versus the first quarterback coming at 101 and the second quarterback at 102. There's just a difference. Those first quarterbacks are different and those second quarterbacks are different. There's a difference between Mahomes being the third quarterback at 15 or 17, wherever he went, and the fourth quarterback being 23rd. I think draft capital matters in terms of evaluation, but situation matters more. It just does. And you can tell me all these numbers, just not sure there's a correlation and causation effect there between draft capital and success. Yes, the first overall pick generally does succeed. That is just a fact. I agree with that, but they are a superior talent. But the difference between the first pick and the second pick, I'd rather look at situation. There's teams that just draft better. They just do. Look at the Lions. They had a great draft. So situation matters. I buy into the numbers a little bit, but when I'm splitting hairs, Coop would go, I'll take the guy who was drafted first. That's how Coop would take that information. He goes, if I'm splitting hairs between Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, I'll take the guy who's drafted second. I say I'll take the guy going to the Vikings. So if you're talking about, do you want the guy going second to the Commanders, third to the Patriots, or let's say fourth to the Vikings? Coop would say I'll take the guy to going second to the Commanders. In his mind, it's I'm not smarter than Commanders. In my mind, I go, this is a better situation. I want them, especially for fantasy. Now, real life football is totally different. Fantasy is where I'm looking at. I'll weigh situation better. I understand Coop's point. I think it's valid, but I'm not going to use that as my tiebreaker. I will always use situation and landing spot as my tiebreaker when I'm splitting same tiered guys. Now, if we're talking the difference between, let's say, J.D. McCarthy, who's in my tier 1, and Bo Nix, who's my tier 2, and there's a tier gap, then I'll go with draft capital. But when my tiers are so close and they're splitting hairs, I'll always go landing spot. So that's where I'm at. So thanks for tuning in to Treadmill Talks this week. Gonna wrap it up here. Do this every Sunday, but not next week. So I'll miss you guys next week, but I'll be driving back. I'll be in Detroit starting Wednesday morning. So check out my Twitter. You'll be seeing some clips of me interviewing some of the prospects, doing some other fun stuff while I'm out there, hanging out with some other people. So Hoove and the people from Club Fantasy, my guy JC, Buddy Joel, Mike Miklius, Steve Bradshaw. We'll all be hanging out there. Work week of the draft. I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, coming home Sunday. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Had fun on Treadmill Talks. See you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great draft.